Have you ever felt like you're stuck on a language learning treadmill?
Hmm.
You're putting in the hours, you're listening, watching videos, doing all the things. But then when it's actually time to speak, your mind just goes blank.
Yeah, that feeling.
Like you're working so hard, but just not really getting anywhere. And you start wondering, is this even working? Am I ever going to feel fluent?
Oh, absolutely.
Uh,
And if that sounds familiar to you listening, please know you are definitely not alone in that feeling.
mhm.
Putting in the effort, but the progress feels slow or maybe even invisible. Super common.
And the source material we're digging into today has this really powerful perspective on that. Maybe a bit counterintuitive, even.
Right.
It suggests that just because progress doesn't feel fast, well, that doesn't mean it's not happening. It uses this lovely analogy. Learning English is like watching a sunrise.
Ah, yeah, I like that one.
You sit there in the dark, doing the work, wondering when the light's coming, and then slowly, almost without you noticing, everything just starts to glow. The learning, the growth.
Yeah.
It's happening kind of quietly.
Exactly. And that's our mission for this deep dive, really. To unpack the core message from this source. It does challenge some of the conventional wisdom you hear, suggesting that maybe the single most powerful skill you need, the one that really underpins everything else, it's listening.
Listening first.
Listening first. So we're going to explore why it argues this, pull out 5 practical shifts it suggests, and hopefully give you a fresh way to look at your own journey.
Okay, let's get into it. So the foundation, the main argument, it's pretty bold. It says fluency always begins with the ear, not the mouth.
Yeah, it's a strong stance. And the reasoning is interesting. The source basically argues you just can't speak fluently what you haven't first really, truly heard, deeply heard.
Yeah.
It compares it to trying to write music if you've never actually heard a melody. You're just guessing at the tune, right?
Well-
Forcing the notes. And that, it says, leads straight to that frustration, that feeling of being stuck.
That makes a lot of sense intuitively. I mean, think about babies learning their first language. They
Right.
spend months, maybe even a year or more, just listening. That's it. Absorbing patterns, sounds, rhythm, tone, all of it.
They're not drilling verb charts.
No, they aren't speaking for ages. They speak because they've heard it all, like 1,000 times. It's soaked in.
Precisely. It's immersion in sound. But adult learners, the source points out, often kind of skip or rush that phase. We get, impatient. We want to speak quickly.
Which is understandable, of course.
Totally understandable. But the argument here is that rushing past the listening is exactly why fluency feels like such a battle later.
Yeah.
You're trying to build the roof before the walls are solid.
Okay, so if listening is the bedrock, how do we actually do it better? The source gives us these 5 shifts. The first one, listen in layers.
Yes. And this tackles a really common problem head on. Treating listening like a test. Oh, yeah. Play it once. Try to catch every word.
And feel totally defeated if you miss stuff, which you will.
Right. The all or nothing trap.
Exactly. But real listening for growth, this source says, isn't about getting 100% on the first try. It's about having a different purpose each time you listen to the same piece of audio. Break it down. 3 layers, 3 passes.
Okay, 3 distinct goals for one clip. Walk us through them.
Layer 1, listen for the gist. Simple, what's the main topic? The overall mood, the big idea. Don't pause, don't stress the vocabulary you miss. Just let it wash over you.
Let it wash over you. I like that phrase from the source. Just absorb the general flow.
Yeah, get the landscape first. That's pass 1.
Okay, big picture. Got it.
Right. Then, layer 2, listen again, but now focus on structure.
Structure! How so? How are the sentences put together? What tenses are they using? Notice the word order. Common phrases that connect ideas. What's the rhythm? The intonation. You're listening to how the language works, not just for the meaning.
Ah, okay. So the mechanics of it, kind of.
Exactly. Training your ear for the grammar and syntax in action. Then layer 3.
This must be the details.
That's it. Listen again, maybe slower this time, and really zoom in. Specific word choices. The emotion behind the words. Subtle shifts in tone. Did their voice go up at the end? Do they sound curious, sarcastic, tired?
Wow, okay. So it's not just listening 3 times. It's listening 3 different ways.
That's the key. You're actively training your brain to pick up these different levels, meaning structure, feeling, nuance, the whole package. That multi-layered understanding, the source argues, is what real fluency is built on. It gets you past just translating in your head.
Okay, so your ears are getting this workout with layered listening. Now, the instinct after listening intensely is usually, okay, time to speak, try it out. But the source has another interesting twist here. Shift 2. Shadow with silence first.
Right. It notes that often when learners jump straight into mimicking, copying what they hear, they can sound a bit robotic or just unsure. The words are there, but something's missing.
Shadowing itself, listening, and repeating is pretty common advice, so the silence part is the innovation here.
Yeah, that's the crucial bit. It's about consciously taking a beat, a moment of silence, after you hear a phrase and before you try to repeat it.
Okay. Why?
Think about learning a song. You don't usually belt it out perfectly the first time, right?
No way.
You listen, you absorb the tune, the rhythm, the timing. Maybe you hum it first, you let it sink in, feel the flow, before you even try the lyrics.
Ah, you internalize the feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with English, same idea. Play a sentence, pause. And instead of rushing to copy, just sit with it for a second. Let the sound and the rhythm echo in your head. Feel the cadence. This works best, the source says, when it builds on that layered listening. You already have the meaning and the structure. Now you're adding the feel. That silence isn't empty space. It's processing time. Your brain's mapping the sound and rhythm.
So less like simple copying, more like letting your brain kind of dance with the rhythm internally before you say it out loud.
That's a great way to put it. It's about developing natural speech, not just memorized phrases. Shadowing is great, but this shadowing with silence grounds it in feeling, making it more authentic.
Okay, these are great techniques, layered listening, shadowing with silence. But, as the source points out, none of it matters if you only do it, once in a blue moon.
Consistency is key.
Which brings us to shift number 3. Create a daily listening ritual.
And ritual is the important word there. It's not just another task on your to-do list.
Right.
A ritual, in this sense, is something you protect. It has meaning. It's a small, dedicated window in your day just for this growth.
Yeah.
No compromises.
The source shares that anecdote about the personal promise.
Yeah, really powerful. Just a simple promise. No matter what happens today, busy, tired, whatever, I will give just 15 minutes to English listening. And crucially, focused listening.
Not while scrolling Instagram.
Exactly. Not multitasking. That small, consistent commitment, protecting that time, it becomes an anchor. That's another good word from the source. Something steady.
And it wasn't even about a long time. 15 minutes is pretty short.
Totally. Duration isn't the main thing here. It's the frequency, the consistency. Even 10 minutes every single day, maybe woven into something you already do.
Like brushing your teeth, making coffee.
Yeah, exactly. That daily rhythm shapes your brain, tunes your ear over time. It really adds up.
Ritual brings rhythm, rhythm brings fluency. I like that. Makes it feel more meaningful than just practice.
It does. So the encouragement is,
Yeah.
find your moment, protect it, make listening your quiet daily practice, your anchor.
Okay, so you've got your ritual going, but
Right.
what do you listen to? The internet is just overflowing, which leads to shift 4, curate with intention.
Oh, absolutely. The sheer volume. It can be paralyzing. That's another word the source uses, paralyze. Too many choices just stops you cold.
Right. Podcasts, YouTube, news, audiobooks. Where do you even start?
And trying to listen to everything, the source argues, can actually be counterproductive. You end up dipping into loads of things, listening for a minute here, a minute there, getting distracted.
Finishing nothing, jumping between accents and styles.
And feeling completely overwhelmed. That's another key term, feeling like it's just too much. You think you're exploring, but you're just scattering your focus.
Okay, so content overload is bad for focus. What's the fix?
Don't try to do more, choose better. Curate your input, that's the word, carefully. Choose and organize. Pick just 1 or 2 sources, a podcast, a YouTube channel, whatever. Something you genuinely like.
Just 1 or 2. But when I get bored, isn't variety important?
It feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? But the source suggests that initially, depth beats breadth. Repetition builds fluency more effectively than skimming across endless new things. Think of it like a garden.
Oh, yeah, the garden analogy.
You can't water everything everywhere. But you can focus on a few plants you really care about. Give them consistent attention and watch them flourish.
Go deep before you go wide, at least to start.
Exactly. Familiarity helps. When you return to the same voices, the same style, your brain relaxes. It starts to automatically pick up the rhythms, the common phrases, the personality. You're not constantly resetting. You build a home base for your listening, a safe zone.
Okay, that makes sense. Build the foundation with curated stuff, make it a ritual. But you said earlier fluency doesn't live in a bubble. How does curating fit with needing variety? Seems like they conflict.
Great question. And they don't conflict. The source presents them as phases, stages of growth.
Oh, okay.
First, you build that solid foundation with consistency and familiar curated content. That helps your brain internalize the core rhythms. Then, once that base is strong, once your EM feels more comfortable, that's when you intentionally stretch. Time to grow beyond your bubble. Another great phrase from the source.
So curation first, then expansion.
Precisely. The source tells that story about trying to understand an unscripted interview between comedians.
Oh, yeah, that sounds tough. Laughing, interrupting.
Talking over each other, sarcasm, mumbling, inside jokes, all of it. And initially, total confusion for the listener in the story, because real English is messy.
Yeah, it's not always neat and tidy like a textbook recording.
Not at all. Real life is interviews, arguments, laughter, sarcasm, emotion, pauses, overlaps.
Yeah.
Everything. If you only listen to, say, news reports, your ears stay safe, but they don't get ready for the real world.
So the advice is, once you feel grounded, deliberately seek out those messier, more varied contexts.
Yes. Explore. Find a casual vlog. Listen to a live debate. Try a comedy special. It's like the gym analogy the source uses.
Right, start with controlled movements, then challenge yourself more.
Exactly. You start with maybe simpler, curated stuff. But to get truly adaptable, you need to challenge your listening muscles with speed, variety, unpredictability, just like real conversation.
And the goal isn't instant perfect understanding in those harder contexts.
Not at all. It's about expanding your ears range. Teaching your brain that English isn't one size fits all, another key phrase. Building confidence that you can follow along, even when it's fast or imperfect. Because out there, English isn't going to slow down for you.
But with this training, maybe you won't need it to.
That's the idea. You become more adaptable, more resilient.
It really reframes listening from something passive to very active, intentional ear training.
It does. And those vocabulary nuggets we've mentioned really help capture these ideas, like how listening is often underrated.
How wanting results fast makes us impatient.
How too much choice can overwhelm and paralyze us.
And the antidote is to curate. Choose carefully.
Right. Making that practice your daily anchor. And when speaking, maybe don't just mimic, but use silence to really feel it.
Remembering that first listening pass is just to let it wash over you.
Yeah. And then eventually pushing yourself to grow beyond your bubble, because real language isn't one size fits all. Those terms really crystallize the approach.
They definitely do. So, wrapping up this deep dive, the core takeaway from the source is really about reorienting our focus. Deep, intentional listening, training your ear with purpose, that's the absolute foundation for fluency. And we looked at those 5 shifts. Listening in layers, shadowing with silence, creating that daily ritual, curating your input carefully at first, and then strategically listening across different contexts.
And a really encouraging final thought from the source. If you found yourself understanding, say, more of this conversation than you maybe expected, or if these ideas resonated, that is progress. That's the sunrise happening, fluency growing, even if it feels slow.
So keep showing up, keep listening. Even on the frustrating days, your ears are doing more work than you might realize.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with, building on the source. If fluency really does begin with the ear, what does that suggest about how much weight we usually put on speaking practice alone as the main driver?
Is that quiet, consistent work of listening actually the most dynamic, most important part of the journey, even if it feels, well, passive? Something to think about as you keep watching your own sunrise.